All right, in case you've forgotten, let's review the time that pseudo Dr. Anthony Fauci predicted the pandemic that we had to deal with during the Trump administration, right? It just happened to happen. It's just random. Don't get conspiratorial. Totally wasn't a planned epidemic, right? No, then that's not the case. Of course not. Of course not. But anyways, let's watch this video. I have to rewatch this every once in a while just to remind myself that yes, it did actually happen.
I thought I would bring that perspective to the topic today is the issue of pandemic preparedness. And if there's one message that I want to leave with you today based on my experience, and you'll see that in a moment, is that there is no question that there will be a challenge, the coming administration in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak. And I hope by the end of my relatively short presentation, you will understand why the history of the last 32 years that I've been the director of NIAID, will tell the next administration that there's no doubt in anyone's mind that they will be faced with the challenges that their predecessors were faced with.
A little suspicious, Fauci. Just a little bit suspicious. But anyways, let's watch Rand Paul grill Dr. Fauci over the $325 million secret royalty scheme enriching NIH scientists. We're going to change the rules, and you will have to divulge where you get your royalties from. Right? Let's have them don NASCAR jackets where they have, all their fun, all the patches of all the people that funded them on their sleeves. Right? Or, we could post it online. That'd be helpful. And hopefully people would actually pay attention. But let's see what Rand Paul has to say right here.
And furthermore, we've been asking you, and you refuse to answer, whether anybody on the vaccine committees gets royalties from the pharmaceutical companies. I asked you last time, and what was your response? We don't have to tell you.
Right.
We've demanded them through Freedom of Information Act, and what have you said? We're not going to tell you. But I tell you this, when we get in charge, we're going to change the rules, and you will have to divulge where you get your royalties from what companies, and if anybody on the committee has a conflict of interest, we're going to learn about it. I promise you that. And furthermore,
Did you see his face there? Let's look at that again. He looks it skipped out at the end, but Fauci looked a little concerned. He didn't know what he was going to say. He wasn't too happy about it. So hopefully they'll be changing the rules soon, and we'll be able to deal with that. Rand Paul, our hero, has referred Fauci to the Justice Department on 2 occasions, in 2021 and again in 2023, for allegedly lying under oath to Congress, right? Senator Rand Paul sent criminal referral letters to D.C. U.S. Attorney Matthew Graves. And if we're going to get him on something, it'll probably be the financial side of things, though. Hopefully that will be the case, because we'll discover, when Rand Paul gets his bill passed and we find out where all these royalties are coming from, we'll better know why Fauci doubled his net worth during the pseudo pandemic. So, but in case you don't already know, Rand said before Congress, Dr. Fauci denied funding gain of function research. To the press, he claims to have a dispassionate view on the lab leak hypothesis, and in private, he acknowledges gain of function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology to his colleagues. A congressional hearing, however, is not the place for a public servant to play political games, especially when the health and well-being of American citizens is on the line. For this reason, I request that you investigate whether Dr. Fauci's statements to Congress on May 11th, 2021 violated 18 U.S.C. 1001 or any other statute, Paul added. So hopefully they'll actually do that eventually. When Trump gets reelected, I could see that happening. The Democrats aren't going to do it, but when Trump gets reelected in a year or less, I think we'll see a lot more investigations of them, since they've been spending years now investigating everyone else. I guess that can hit both sides to some extent. So Fauci testified before the Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions on May 11th, saying that the NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain-of-function research in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Right? That was obviously a lie. Not only did they fund it, he knew about it and was involved in gain-of-function research in Wuhan and some other disturbing types of research around the world that you could probably look up as well if you wanted to know. In a subsequent hearing, Paul warned Dr. Fauci of the criminal implications of lying to Congress and offered him an opportunity to recant his previous statements, the senator noted in the letter. In response, Fauci stated that he had never lied before the Congress and did not retract the statement. Sounds suspicious. All right, over here, we have a little bit more about Rand Paul. This is a more recent article. Comes out swinging against COVID response in speech. It says Republican Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky pulled no punches, beginning his visit at the Reagan Library on February 2nd by echoing a question often posed by his wife, Kelly: why hasn't Anthony Fauci been arrested? And Paul told a pretty funny story not too long ago about how, at this speech actually, about how, he goes home and it's the first question his wife asks him most of the time. So he says, it's not for lack of trying. Listening from the front row of the Simi Valley Presidential Library was his wife, who sounds like a great wife. In his book, Deception, The Great COVID Cover-Up, which I also recommend you pick up, released on October 2nd, Paul criticizes what he perceives as the failures of the public health system during the pandemic. He lays much of the blame on the criminal Fauci, who served as director from 1984 to 2022 of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, which is part of the U.S. National Institute of Health. David Trulio, president and CEO of the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute, praised the senator's fearlessness in speaking uncomfortable truths to power, right? And challenging conventional wisdom. We are fortunate indeed to have with us this evening a courageous and principled leader, a key voice in both the medical profession and the U.S. Senate, Trulio said to the several hundred people in attendance. We're skipping down a bit, Paul accuses Fauci and his allies of knowing COVID's origins, silencing dissent, and being driven by financial motives. Fauci's influence led to harsh, terrible lockdowns, causing significant personal economic damage to American citizens. Yeah, anybody who worked in retail essentially lost their job and couldn't pay their bills. Whereas, a lot of other people got rich during the COVID pandemic. Here's this quote: the reason I wrote this book isn't just about putting Anthony Fauci in jail, although I won't complain if that's the result. Really, the reason why I wrote this book is trying to keep this from happening again, Paul said. Heck yeah, I love to hear it. I would love to see Fauci behind bars. Paul claimed that emails obtained through the Freedom of Information Act incriminate Fauci, revealing his admission to deceiving the public and members of congressional committee, right? Because we know now that he's saying different things in the public than he's saying in private. Quote, the lab evidence is overwhelming, Paul said. Republicans are investigating in the House, but until Democrats take notice, legislative change remains elusive. So, oh man, hopefully it'll happen in the next couple of years. I think Republicans will take back the presidency, and hopefully we'll see improvements. Fauci has written in his own memoir called On Call, A Doctor's Journey in Public Service. Yeah, right. He wrote, quote, I hope that this memoir will serve as a personalized document for the reader to understand better the daunting challenges that we have faced in public health over the past 40 years. You know what? It's pretty well accepted by historians that autobiographies in general are not to be believed because, people are going to write themselves in a much more positive light. And a criminal liar like Fauci is obviously going to lie a ton and misrepresent himself in his book. So I wouldn't buy that one because that's a waste of money. If another virus emerged, Paul said he opposes lockdowns. Never again should we be put in this situation. Never again should we allow them to come into our schools or set one foot into our churches. Heck yeah, I love to hear that as well. But I'm going to end the video here. Let me know in the comments what you think. Please like and subscribe. If you want more content, specifically daily content, then please consider becoming a paid subscriber.